I do like to check the types in my PHP application. In fact, I bring PHPStan and LaraStan into all of my Laravel apps. Now, I like to keep it at level 5 or 6. I don't go nuts and really set that to max or whatever the most strict definition is. But the point is, I enjoy checking types and static analysis in my code. That being said, today's tip is going to be an area where I choose not to do that. And one of those areas is with controller action return types. So let's take a look at an example. Here we have a very simple controller. Now this happens to be an invocable controller, but the same would apply if it was a resourceful controller with various methods, for each of the different HTTP verbs. I choose not to put a return type here. And at level 5 or 6, I forget which one it is, PHPStan will actually complain and want you to put a type there. I configure it to not bug me about that. Why is that though? Like, why wouldn't I put a type here? Well, think about it. This particular method is returning a redirect. Now, if I hover over that, I can see a redirect can be one of those two types, right? It could be a redirect response, or it could be this redirector object. So I could type hint that here, right? I could say redirect response, and this would type check and PHPStan would be happy. But think about all the other things you can return from a controller, right? So I could return JSON. I can return a string, and all of that will work. But think of, I can think of maybe 6, 7, there are probably more types that are valid return types for a controller action that Laravel as a framework will happily accept. So what should we do about that? I could create a massive union type of all the different possibilities, and I could even make an alias for that so it's not like this big ugly thing. Or I could just pick the one my controller happens to be using, but that's a little bit brittle. And sometimes in a more complicated controller, you can return one of a couple different things based on the path through the logic. One might be a forbidden response or a validation error. Like, all these different things can happen. But if we step back and we think about it, what actually calls this method? I don't ever call it in my own code. The only thing that ever calls this method is the Laravel framework. And I think it's something like controller dispatcher. Yeah, so this method here, dispatch, is the actual thing that invokes the method on my controller. And notice what it has mixed. It's not even trying to type it. So my point is, there is not going to be any sort of static analysis catching that the PHPStan will be able to do for me in a controller action specifically. And the reason is because Laravel is the only thing calling it. Now, if I had a protected method in here, like a helper method that multiple actions would call, I would definitely put a return type on that. Everywhere else in my application, model methods, jobs, all those things, I will put the return types on it. But in this one case, I don't think it makes a lot of sense. And there's a few others where I don't, like a middleware handle method. It's the same thing. It's only ever being called by the Laravel framework. It can return a bunch of different types, and Laravel doesn't enforce the type that you return. So just something to think about. It's certainly not anything against types. I clearly like them. But in this one case, I would just question, is it worth putting in there and adding it to your code? Is it really providing any value? If you'd like to also hear about how I do that type alias thing, I could do a future tip on that. Just reply in the comment, because that does come in handy in other places. And I would also say, if you like tips like this, head over to masteringlaravel.io, sign up for the newsletter. I send out tips each day. I only post one of them a week on YouTube. So if you'd like more of that, please check that out. It's totally free.